I burst through the front door, exhausted from another long day at the office, and immediately notice something is off. Our dog, Bruno, a normally well-behaved German shepherd, is dashing around the yard, barking at a squirrel with unrestrained excitement. It's unlike him to be outside alone, especially when Melissa isn't home yet. I rush to the door, throwing my briefcase onto the floor, and race outside to catch him before he bolts through the gate. "Bruno, get back here!" I shout, but he's too quick, darting around in circles, his tail wagging like a propeller. It takes a few minutes, but I finally manage to grab his collar and lead him back inside. As I lock the door behind us, I notice something strange. A scent. A masculine, woodsy fragrance hangs in the air of our usually familiar-smelling home. It's not my cologne. I would have recognized it instantly. My heart skips a beat as I walk into the hallway, the scent growing stronger. I shrug it off, trying to convince myself it's nothing, that maybe the mailman wore a new cologne, or it's just some residual smell from the day. But something gnaws at the back of my mind, something unsettling that I can't quite shake. Later that evening, as we sit down for dinner, Melissa seems unusually cheerful. She's always been vibrant, but tonight there's an extra spark in her eyes. She's glowing, and I find myself staring at her, wondering what's gotten into her. "I've got some exciting news," she announces, cutting into her steak with a flourish. "I joined a club today, a local animal lovers club. They do all sorts of activities, training sessions, social meetups, and even charity events for shelters." "That sounds great, man," I respond, though a small part of me is still caught up on the strange scent from earlier. "Bruno could use the socialization. He's got too much energy for just the two of us." "That's exactly what I thought," she says, her face lighting up. "And the people there are wonderful. They really care about animals just like I do. I think it'll be good for all of us." I smile, relieved by her enthusiasm, but a sliver of doubt remains lodged in my mind. The idea of her spending time with other people, strangers, while I'm stuck at work feels slightly uncomfortable, but I push the thought aside, telling myself that it's all in my head. Over the next few weeks, Melissa's involvement in the club grows. She starts attending meetings regularly, often staying out later than usual. At first, I'm happy for her, glad that she's found something she's passionate about. But soon, the changes in her routine begin to nag at me. She spends more time getting ready before heading out to the club meetings, carefully selecting her outfits, and applying makeup with a level of attention she used to reserve for special occasions. When I ask her about it, she laughs it off, saying she just wants to look presentable and feel good about herself. But it's not just her appearance. She's on her phone more often, texting and smiling at the screen. But when I ask what's so funny, she brushes it off as just club stuff. The more she brushes off my questions, the more my unease grows. One evening, after a particularly long day, I'm sitting on the couch flipping through channels when she breezes in, cheeks flushed and eyes sparkling. I watch her carefully, trying to read her, but she's like an open book in a language I don't understand. "How was the meeting?" I ask, keeping my tone casual. "Fantastic," she replies, tossing her bag onto the chair. "We're planning a big charity event next month. It's going to be amazing." "That sounds like a lot of work," I say, watching as she checks her phone, smiling at something on the screen before quickly locking it. "Oh, it is. But it's worth it," she says, glancing up at me with that same glowing look. I really feel like I'm making a difference. I nod, but I can't help but feel that something is slipping away from me, something I can't quite grasp. One Saturday morning, Melissa's in the shower, and I'm in the kitchen making breakfast. Her phone, abandoned on the counter, suddenly vibrates, catching my attention. Normally I'd ignore it, but something compels me to glance over. A message lights up the screen. "Logan, can't wait to see you tonight." My heart skips a beat. Logan? I don't know any Logan. My mind races, trying to piece together fragments of conversations, but I come up empty. Who the hell is Logan? I know it's wrong, but I can't resist. I pick up her phone, glancing quickly to make sure she's still in the shower, and swipe to read the message. "Logan, can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was incredible. I'm still thinking about it." My blood runs cold. The phone slips from my hand, clattering onto the counter. The words blur as I stare at the screen, my mind refusing to accept what I'm seeing. This can't be happening. Not to us. I hear the shower turn off, and panic surges through me. I quickly set the phone back where I found it and try to compose myself. When Melissa walks into the kitchen a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, I'm standing by the stove, stirring eggs like nothing's wrong. But inside, everything is wrong. Everything is falling apart. That evening, I'm a bundle of nerves, barely able to focus on anything. Melissa is getting ready for yet another club meeting, and I can't tear my eyes away from her as she carefully applies her makeup, humming softly to herself. I need to ask her. I need to know what's going on. The words are on the tip of my tongue, but fear holds them back. Fear of what she might say. Fear of what I might hear. As she finishes, I muster up the courage. "Melissa," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who's Logan?" She freezes for a split second, her hand pausing mid-air as she's about to put on her earrings. The moment passes quickly, and she resumes her task. But her voice is a little too casual when she responds. "Oh, Logan's just a friend from the club. He's been helping me with Bruno's training. Why do you ask?" Just a friend. I want to believe her, I really do. But the memory of that message is seared into my brain. "He seems pretty close for just a friend," I say, trying to keep my tone light. She turns to me, her eyes narrowing slightly, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. "What are you getting at, Jackson? It's nothing. He's just a friend. You don't have to worry." But I am worried. I'm more than worried. I'm terrified. The unease that has been building inside me for weeks finally boils over, and before I can stop myself, the words come tumbling out. "I saw a message from him on your phone this morning. He said he couldn't wait to see you tonight. What's going on, Melissa?" Her face pales, and for a moment, she looks like she's been caught in a lie. But then she quickly regains her composure, shaking her head. "You're overreacting, Jackson. It's nothing, really. We're just friends." But her words ring hollow, and I can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something, that she's slipping away from me into a world I'm no longer a part of. As she walks out the door, leaving me standing there with a sinking feeling in my gut, I realize that my marriage is teetering on the edge of a precipice, and I'm not sure how much longer I can hold on. Melissa's routine continues, and I try to push down the gnawing anxiety that follows me around like a shadow. But when she comes home one evening, brimming with excitement about a weekend seminar the club is organizing in a neighboring town, I feel that familiar unease tighten in my chest. "We're going to have guest speakers, training sessions, and a lot of networking opportunities," she says, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "It's going to be amazing, Jackson. You should be happy for me." I force a smile, trying to mirror her excitement. "That sounds great, Mel. Maybe I could come with you?" Her expression falters for just a moment, so brief that I almost miss it, before she shakes her head, laughing softly. "Oh no, it's just for club members. Besides, you'd be bored out of your mind. It's all about animal behavior and training techniques, not really your thing." Her words are meant to be reassuring, but they have the opposite effect. The more she insists that it's nothing I'd be interested in, the more I wonder if she's really telling the truth. I know I should trust her, but something in her tone, in the way she's so quick to dismiss my suggestion, makes me feel like she's trying to hide something. As the weekend approaches, I find myself growing more and more restless. I can't shake the feeling that something is going to happen, something that will change everything. The morning of the seminar, Melissa leaves early, kissing me on the cheek before rushing out the door with an overnight bag slung over her shoulder. "I'll be back Sunday evening," she calls over her shoulder as she heads to the car. "Love you." I watch her drive away, a sinking feeling in my stomach. For the rest of the day, I try to distract myself, working on projects around the house, taking Bruno for a long walk, but nothing seems to help. My mind keeps drifting back to that message from Logan, to the way Melissa seems so eager to get away. That afternoon, as I'm sitting on the couch staring blankly at the TV, my phone rings. I glance at the screen and see it's an unknown number. Hesitant, I answer. "Hello? Jackson, this is Katie from the club. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know. There's no seminar this weekend." I feel like I've been punched in the gut. "What do you mean?" "The seminar was canceled last week. Didn't Melissa tell you?" The room seems to spin around me. "No," I manage to say, my voice hoarse. "She didn't mention that." There's a pause on the other end of the line, and when Katie speaks again, her tone is filled with concern. "I'm sure it's nothing, but I thought you should know." I've been worried about Melissa lately. She's been acting different. Different how? I ask, my heart pounding. She's been spending a lot of time with Logan. They seem really close. I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I hang up the phone, my hands trembling. The pieces are starting to fall into place, and the picture they're forming is one I don't want to see. After the phone call from Katie, I feel like I'm in a daze. The idea that Melissa lied to me, that she's with Logan right now instead of at a seminar, makes my blood run cold. I can't just sit here and do nothing. I need to know the truth. I grab my car keys and head out the door, my mind racing with a million thoughts. I don't even know where to start looking, but something tells me that the neighboring town where the seminar was supposed to be is my best bet. The drive feels like it takes forever, even though it's just over an hour away. My mind keeps replaying everything that's happened over the past few weeks, all the little signs I ignored or brushed off as nothing. I can't believe I've been so blind. When I finally arrive at the hotel where the seminar was supposed to take place, I feel a surge of hope. Maybe this is all just a big misunderstanding. Maybe Melissa is really here, and there's a simple explanation for everything. But as I walk up to the front desk and ask about the seminar, the receptionist gives me a confused look. "I'm sorry, sir, but there's no seminar scheduled here this weekend." My heart sinks. "Are you sure? It was supposed to be for an animal lovers club." She checks her computer again, then shakes her head. "No, there's nothing like that here." I thank her and walk back to my car, feeling like the ground has been pulled out from under me. I sit in the driver's seat, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out what to do next. Then it hits me. There's another hotel just down the road. Maybe she's there. Maybe she's meeting Logan at that hotel instead. I drive to the other hotel, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turn white. When I arrive, I park in the back lot and head inside, my heart pounding in my chest. I approach the front desk, trying to keep my voice steady as I ask, "Excuse me, I'm looking for someone. Her name is Melissa Harper. I think she might be staying here." The receptionist types something into her computer, then nods. "Yes, she checked in earlier today. Room 312. I feel a mix of relief and dread as I thank her and head toward the elevator. I don't know what I'm going to find when I get to that room, but I know I need to see for myself. The elevator ride to the third floor feels like it takes an eternity. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. Room 312. The number echoes in my mind as I walk down the hallway, my footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. I stop in front of the door, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I can hear faint voices inside, Melissa's voice, unmistakable, and another deeper voice that I can only assume belongs to Logan. Taking a deep breath, I knock on the door. There's a moment of silence, then the sound of shuffling feet. The door opens just a crack, and Melissa's face appears. Her eyes widen in shock when she sees me standing there, and for a split second, I see panic flash across her face. "Jackson?" Her voice is shaky, barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I reply, my voice surprisingly calm given the storm raging inside me. "I thought you were at a seminar." She hesitates, glancing over her shoulder. That's when I see him, Logan, standing behind her, his shirt unbuttoned, looking just as stunned as Melissa. The sight of them together, in that intimate setting, confirms everything I've been dreading. The air is thick with the unspoken truth, and the weight of it presses down on me, making it hard to breathe. Melissa steps out into the hallway, closing the door behind her, as if that could somehow shield me from the reality of what's happening. "Jackson, I can explain," she starts, but the words sound hollow, meaningless. "Explain what, Melissa?" I cut her off, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay composed. "Explain why you've been lying to me, why you're here with him instead of at a seminar." Tears well up in her eyes, and she looks down at the floor, unable to meet my gaze. "I never meant for it to go this far," she says, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to hurt you." "But you did," I say, my voice breaking. "You've been lying to me for weeks, maybe longer. How could you do this, Melissa? How could you betray me like this?" She wipes at her eyes, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "I'm so sorry, Jackson. I never wanted to hurt you, but I don't know what happened. We just got close, and I couldn't stop it." I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of emotions, Anger, betrayal, sadness, all swirling together in a chaotic mess. "So what now?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Where do we go from here?" She looks up at me, her eyes red and puffy. "I don't know," she admits. "I never thought it would come to this." For a moment we just stand there, staring at each other, both of us broken in our own way. The love we once had seems like a distant memory, overshadowed by the pain and betrayal that now fills the space between us. Finally, I turn and walk away, leaving Melissa standing alone in the hallway. I don't look back as I make my way to the elevator, my heart heavy with the weight of everything I've just discovered. All I know is that nothing will ever be the same again. The drive back home feels surreal, like I'm watching my life from a distance. The shock of discovering Melissa's affair with Logan still hasn't fully sunk in. My hands grip the steering wheel as I replay the confrontation over and over in my mind, each time feeling a fresh wave of pain wash over me. The image of her standing there, pleading, apologizing, keeps flashing before my eyes. I don't remember much of the drive. It's all a blur. By the time I pull into our driveway, it's dark outside. The house looms in front of me, once a place of warmth and comfort, now a reminder of the life I thought I had, a life that's slipping away from me. I walk inside, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. Bruno comes bounding over, tail wagging, but even his usual excitement does little to lift the heavy cloud hanging over me. I drop my keys on the counter and collapse onto the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling. What do I do now? The question echoes in my mind, unanswered. My marriage is in shambles, torn apart by betrayal, and I have no idea how to pick up the pieces, or if I even want to. My phone buzzes in my pocket, jolting me from my thoughts. I pull it out and see a text from Melissa. "Can we talk? Please, I'm so sorry." I stare at the message for a long time, the words blurring as tears well up in my eyes. I want to scream at her, demand to know why she did this to us, but at the same time, I don't know if I have the strength to face her again so soon. Everything feels too raw, too painful. Instead of replying, I toss the phone onto the coffee table and bury my face in my hands. I have no idea what the future holds, but right now, all I feel is the crushing weight of betrayal. The next morning, I wake up on the couch, my body stiff and aching from the uncomfortable position. The events of the previous day flood back into my mind as soon as my eyes open, and I feel a knot tighten in my chest. I can't avoid Melissa forever. We need to talk, to figure out where we go from here. Reluctantly, I pick up my phone and see several missed calls and messages from her. Each one is a plea for forgiveness, a desperate attempt to explain. I scroll through them, my emotions swinging between anger and sadness. Finally, I type out a brief response. "We need to talk. Come home." A couple of hours later, I hear her car pull into the driveway. My heart races as I brace myself for what's about to happen. The front door opens slowly, and Melissa steps inside, her face pale and drawn. She looks like she hasn't slept, her eyes red and puffy from crying. We stand in silence for a moment, the tension between us almost unbearable. Finally, she breaks the silence, her voice trembling. "Jackson, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I don't know how it got to this point." I take a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "How long has this been going on, Melissa? How long have you been lying to me?" She looks down at the floor, tears spilling over her cheeks. "A few months," she admits quietly. "It started out as just talking. We connected over the club, and it felt good to have someone to talk to about something I was passionate about. But then, it got out of hand. I didn't mean for it to happen, Jackson. I swear." Her words sting, each one a painful reminder of how easily she let someone else into our lives. "Why didn't you tell me?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you talk to me if you were feeling distant or unhappy?" "I didn't know how," she says, her voice breaking. "I was scared of how you'd react, scared of what it would mean for us. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong. I'm so sorry." I feel a mix of anger and sorrow welling up inside me. Part of me wants to lash out, to make her feel the pain she's caused me, but another part of me just feels empty, like I've been hollowed out by the betrayal. "We have to figure out where to go from here," I say, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Melissa. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." She nods, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I'll leave the club. I'll cut off all contact with Logan. I'll do anything, Jackson. Just please don't give up on us. I look at her, my heart aching with a mix of emotions. I don't know what the future holds for us, but one thing is clear. Our marriage will never be the same again. The days following our confrontation are some of the hardest of my life. I move through them in a fog, barely able to focus on anything. The house feels suffocating, filled with memories of what used to be, and I find myself avoiding it as much as possible. I spend long hours at work, trying to drown out the pain with endless tasks, but it's always there, lurking just beneath the surface. Melissa tries her best to make things right. She's withdrawn from the Animal Lovers Club, deleted Logan's number, and is constantly checking in, asking how I'm feeling, if there's anything she can do. But no matter what she does, it doesn't change the fact that she cheated. It doesn't change the fact that our marriage is broken, and I'm not sure it can be repaired. One evening, after another long day at the office, I find myself parked outside our house, unable to bring myself to go inside. The weight of everything that's happened presses down on me, and I feel like I'm suffocating. I think back to the early days of our marriage, to the love and happiness we shared, and I wonder how it all went so wrong. I could leave, I think to myself. I could just pack my bags and walk away, start over somewhere new, away from the pain and betrayal. But the thought of leaving everything behind, of giving up on the life we've built together, fills me with a deep sense of loss. I know I have a choice to make. I can either try to forgive Melissa and rebuild our marriage, or I can walk away and start over. Neither option feels right. Both are filled with pain and uncertainty. As I sit there, lost in thought, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Melissa. I love you, Jackson. I know I've hurt you, and I don't know if you can ever forgive me, but I'm not giving up on us. I'll be here, waiting for you, no matter what you decide. I stare at the message, my heart heavy with the weight of her words. She's given me an out, a chance to walk away if that's what I need. But she's also made it clear that she's willing to fight for us, to do whatever it takes to make things right. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive her, or if I can ever trust her again. But as I sit there, I realize that I'm not ready to give up on us either. Not yet. Taking a deep breath, I start the car and pull into the driveway. As I step out and walk towards the house, I know the road ahead will be long and difficult. But I also know that for now, I'm willing to take that first step. Whether it leads to healing or heartache, only time will tell. I walk into the house and the air is thick with tension, like it has been ever since the day I confronted Melissa. She's in the kitchen stirring something on the stove, but her eyes flick up to meet mine as soon as I step through the door. There's a flash of relief in her expression, as if she wasn't sure I'd come home at all. "Hey," she says softly, setting down the spoon. "How was work?" "Long," I reply, shrugging out of my jacket and draping it over a chair. It's the same answer I've been giving for days, the same excuse to avoid a real conversation. But tonight, something's different. I feel a need to break through the wall that's been growing between us, brick by painful brick. She nods, her hands fidgeting nervously with the edge of the counter. "I made dinner. It's just spaghetti, but I thought maybe we could sit down and eat together." There's a vulnerability in her voice that tugs at something inside me. For a moment I hesitate, but then I find myself nodding. "Yeah, let's do that." We sit down at the table, the silence between us heavy, but not as suffocating as it's been. The simple act of sharing a meal feels like a tentative step towards something resembling normalcy, even though I know we're far from that. As we eat, I notice the small things, how she's barely touched her food, how she keeps glancing at me like she's afraid of what I might say or do. I take a deep breath, deciding to break the silence that's been eating away at us. "Melissa," I begin, my voice rougher than I intend. "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About us." She freezes, her fork hovering midair, and I can see the fear in her eyes. She's waiting for me to tell her it's over, to say I'm done. But that's not why I brought it up. "I'm not ready to walk away," I say, and the words seem to surprise us both. "But I don't know how to move forward either. What you did, it broke something between us, and I don't know if it can be fixed." Tears well up in her eyes, but she doesn't look away. "I know, Jackson. I know I messed up, And I don't expect you to just forgive me and forget. I don't even know if I deserve a second chance, but I want to try. I want to do whatever it takes to make this right. The sincerity in her voice is palpable, and for the first time in days, I feel a glimmer of hope. It's faint, fragile, but it's there. We can't go back to the way things were, I say slowly, but maybe we can find a way to move forward. I need time, Mel. Time to figure out what that looks like. She nods, wiping away a tear that slips down her cheek. I understand, and I'll give you all the time you need. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in what feels like forever, I reach out and take her hand. It's a small gesture, but it feels like a lifeline. We'll take it one day at a time, I say, squeezing her hand gently. That's all we can do. She squeezes back, and for a moment the tension between us eases. It's not a resolution, but it's a start, a first step towards something new, something that might just be stronger than what we had before. The days turn into weeks, and the awkward dance of trying to rebuild our lives together begins. It's not easy, and every day feels like a battle between the desire to move on and the constant reminder of what happened. I can't look at Melissa without seeing her betrayal, but at the same time, I can't imagine my life without her. We start going to counseling, something I never thought we'd need. Our therapist, a calm, middle-aged woman named Dr. Evans, guides us through the process of unpacking everything. Melissa's reasons for straying, my own feelings of inadequacy, the ways we both let our marriage slip into a dangerous place. It's grueling, uncomfortable, and often painful, but it's also necessary. One evening after a particularly intense session, Melissa and I sit in the car in silence, the weight of everything we've discussed hanging heavily between us. She's been quiet the entire drive home, and I can tell she's deep in thought. Finally, as we pull into the driveway, she speaks. I've been thinking about what Dr. Evans said today, about how we need to be open and honest with each other if we're going to rebuild trust. I nod, remembering the session. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but I know it's important. She hesitates, then turns to face me, her expression serious. There's something I need to tell you, Jackson. Something I should have told you a long time ago. A chill runs down my spine, but I force myself to stay calm. What is it? She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she clasps them in her lap. Before Logan, there was someone else. It was years ago, when we were first married. It didn't mean anything. It was just one night, and I regretted it immediately. I never told you because I was ashamed and scared of what it would do to us. But after everything that's happened, I can't keep it a secret anymore. The air seems to leave the car, and for a moment I can't breathe. Another betrayal, hidden for years, buried under the facade of a happy marriage. The shock of her words hits me like a punch to the gut, and I struggle to process what she's just said. Who? The word slips out before I can stop it, and I'm not sure I want to know the answer. His name was Tom, she says quietly. He was a friend from work, and we were going through a rough patch at the time. I was feeling lonely, and one night after a work event, it just happened. It was a mistake, and it never happened again. I ended things immediately, and he left the company not long after. I close my eyes, trying to steady myself as the ground shifts beneath me. This new revelation feels like a betrayal layered on top of an already fragile foundation, and I don't know if I can take it. I'm sorry, she continues, her voice breaking. I should have told you then, but I was terrified of losing you. I know I've hurt you more than I can ever make up for, but I'm telling you now because I don't want any more secrets between us. I want to rebuild our marriage, but I can't do that if I'm still hiding things from you. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turn white. The anger, hurt, and confusion bubble up inside me, threatening to spill over. But I know that lashing out won't fix anything. It will only push us further apart. Finally, I open my eyes and look at her. She's sitting there, tears streaming down her face, her expression a mix of fear and regret. I can see how much this confession has cost her, and part of me appreciates her honesty. But another part of me feels like the ground beneath us has just crumbled even further. I don't know what to say, I admit, my voice shaking. I don't know how to process this right now. She nods, wiping at her tears. I understand, I needed to tell you. I couldn't keep it from you any longer. We sit in silence for a long time, the weight of her confession settling between us like a dark cloud. I know that rebuilding trust is going to be even harder now, but I also know that if we have any chance of moving forward, we have to confront everything, even the things that hurt the most. Finally, I reach out and take her hand, holding it tightly. We'll get through this, I say, though I'm not entirely sure if I believe it. But it's going to take time, a lot of time. She squeezes my hand, her tears still flowing freely. I know, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Jackson. I just want us to be okay again. As we sit there, hands clasped tightly together, I realize that this is the hardest thing I've ever done. But as broken as we are, there's a part of me that still believes we can find our way back to each other. It's going to be a long, painful journey, but I'm willing to try. Months have passed since Melissa's second confession, and life has been a roller coaster of emotions. Every day feels like a test of my resilience and our relationship's strength. Some days I wake up feeling like we're making progress, like the wounds are starting to heal, and trust is slowly rebuilding. Other days, the weight of everything that's happened drags me down, and I wonder if we're fooling ourselves, if the damage is too deep to repair. Melissa and I continue our therapy sessions, both together and separately. Dr. Evans has been a lifeline, guiding us through the murky waters of our emotions, helping us navigate the complexities of forgiveness and trust. It's been grueling, often pushing us to our breaking points, but I know it's necessary if we want to save what's left of our marriage. One of the things Dr. Evans suggested early on was setting aside time each week for us to reconnect, not just as a couple, but as individuals. She encouraged us to explore the things that brought us together in the first place, to rediscover the parts of ourselves that got lost along the way. At first it felt forced, awkward even. But over time, those moments have become something we both look forward to, a small oasis of normalcy in the chaos that has been our lives. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Melissa and I decide to take Bruno for a walk at the park, where we used to go when we were first dating. It's a place filled with memories, some good, some bittersweet, but being there feels right, like we're trying to reclaim a piece of our past. As we walk along the familiar path, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and pink, I find myself thinking about everything we've been through, the pain, the betrayal, the slow, painstaking process of trying to rebuild what was broken. It's been a long, hard road, and there's still a part of me that isn't sure if we'll ever fully recover. But as I watch Melissa walking beside me, holding Bruno's leash, I realize that I'm still here. We're still here, and that has to mean something. Do you remember the first time we came here? I ask, breaking the comfortable silence between us. She glances at me, a small smile playing on her lips. Of course I do. You were so nervous, I thought you were going to trip over your own feet. I chuckle, remembering how anxious I'd been that day. I was trying so hard to impress you. Well, you did, she says, her smile widening. I knew from that first date that you were someone special. Her words warm something inside me, a reminder of the connection we once had, the connection we're trying to find again. It feels like a lifetime ago, I say, my tone more somber. So much has changed since then. Melissa's smile fades slightly and she nods. It has, but I like to think we're different people now, better maybe, stronger. I look at her, really look at her and see the truth in her words. We've been through hell, but we're still standing. Maybe we are stronger, or maybe we're just more aware of how fragile everything is. We continue walking in silence, the sounds of the park, children playing, dogs barking, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, filling the space between us. I'm lost in thought, thinking about how far we've come, when Melissa suddenly stops and turns to face me. Jackson, she says, her voice soft but steady. I know I've asked a lot of you these past few months. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never fully make up for. But I need to know. Do you still want this? Do you still want us? The question hangs in the air, heavy with the weight of everything it implies. I take a deep breath, considering my answer. There's a part of me that wants to say no, that wants to walk away from all the pain and start fresh. But then I look at her, really look at her, and I see the woman I fell in love with all those years ago. The woman who, despite everything, has been trying her hardest to make things right. Yes, I say finally. the word coming out with more certainty than I expected. I do still want us, but I need you to understand that it's going to take time. I'm not saying everything's okay because it's not, but I'm willing to keep trying if you are. Tears fill her eyes, and she steps closer, reaching out to take my hands in hers. I am, Jackson. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. I love you, and I don't want to lose you. Her words hit me in a way they haven't in a long time. For the first time in months, I feel a flicker of hope, real, tangible hope, that we might actually be able to get through this. I squeeze her hands, pulling her into a hug, and for a moment we just stand there holding each other as the world continues to move around us. That night as we lie in bed, Melissa turns to me, her expression thoughtful. "There's something I've been thinking about," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is it?" I ask, curious. "I think we should move," she says, and the statement catches me off guard. "Move? You mean like, to a new house?" She nods. "Yeah, I've been thinking that maybe a fresh start in a new place could help us, really start over. This house, it holds a lot of memories, some good, but a lot of bad ones too. Maybe it's time to leave it behind and build something new." I consider her words, and surprisingly they make sense. This house, our home, has become a symbol of everything that's happened, the good, the bad, and the heartbreaking. A new place could be a chance to let go of some of that baggage, to create new memories that aren't tainted by the past. "I think that's a good idea," I say after a moment. "A fresh start could be exactly what we need." She smiles, a real genuine smile that lights up her face in a way I haven't seen in a long time. "I'm glad you think so. Maybe this is exactly what we need to finally heal." Over the next few weeks, we start looking for a new house. It's not easy, and there are moments when the stress of it all makes me question whether this was the right decision. But with each new house we tour, I start to feel a sense of excitement that I haven't felt in a long time. It's as if the act of looking forward to something new is helping to push the past further behind us. Finally, we find it, the perfect house. It's not too far from where we live now, but it's different enough that it feels like a fresh start. It's a modest place, with a big backyard for Bruno to run around in, and a cozy living room where we can sit and talk without the ghosts of our past looming over us. As soon as we step inside, I can see it in Melissa's eyes. This is the place where we can begin again. The move itself is a whirlwind of packing boxes and saying goodbye to the home we've lived in for so long. It's bittersweet, leaving behind the place where so many memories were made, but I know it's the right choice. As we close the door to our old house for the last time, I feel a sense of closure that I didn't expect. Our new home quickly becomes a sanctuary, a place where we can focus on rebuilding our relationship without the constant reminders of what we've lost. We fill the rooms with new furniture, new decorations, and new memories. It's not always easy, and there are still moments when the pain of the past creeps in. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. One evening, as we sit on the porch watching the sunset, Melissa turns to me with a smile. "I'm glad we did this," she says. "I feel like we're finally starting to heal." I nod, taking her hand in mine. "Me too. We've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go, but I think we're going to be okay." She rests her head on my shoulder, and we sit in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to pink to deep blue. For the first time in what feels like forever, I feel at peace, like we finally turned a corner and are heading towards something better. As the stars begin to appear in the night sky, I realize that this, sitting here with Melissa, in our new home, looking towards the future, is exactly where I want to be. The road ahead might still be uncertain, but as long as we're on it together, I know we can face whatever comes our way.